Welcome to another episode of PSL On The Mic.
Wait a second. That's my line.
My bad. Go ahead.
Welcome to another episode of PSL On The Mic. No, that's kind of a joke. So today is our 1-year anniversary episode of our podcast. So we were brainstorming, trying to figure out what we were going to do for the 1 year. So we're switching roles. Avi is going to be the host, and I hope he finds it as difficult as I did when I first started. But this will be fun. He's going to ask me questions about, how the year has gone, and we'll flip-flop, have a nice little conversation, and hopefully you guys will learn a little bit about how this has been going for the entire year. Yeah. And it's been fun. So this will be very interesting to sit here. I'm sitting in my same spot, but Avi, ask the questions.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Just a quick intro. My name is Abraham Monina. I work in communications with Moren and Gus. I'm the innovation strategist, and that's enough about me.
And Gus is back there.
And
he
Gus is
does
back
the soundboard.
Yep.
Say hi, Gus. All right. So it's mostly the three of us here. We built the studio with our own hands.
We did. It was a lot of planning, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of work, but it came out really, really nice, I think.
Yes, and we've been commented several times about how nice the background is, and people actually come in here and shoot videos.
That's right.
With this background.
Yep. Our video team comes in here to do different interviews and PSAs and stuff like that, and it's working out really well. I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Good.
Yeah.
Even though it was, he yelled at us a few times, showed me how to use a drill, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
It was fun.
Everybody had fun.
Oh, yes.
Nobody got injured.
No, not yet.
All right. Let's get this moving. Maureen, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
So I am Maureen Kenyon. I'm the social media manager here at the city. I was hired about 4 years ago. I think I started in May of 2020, height of the pandemic. That was weird.
It was fun.
Come into a job and I was handed a laptop and a phone and
See you later.
peace out. I went home and figured out what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy for the opportunity. Before I came here, I had several jobs at TC Palm, Treasure Coast newspaper, Stewart News. Everybody knows it as that. I was a copy editor. I was a reporter for a time. I flew the drone. What did I end up doing? I was the trends reporter. I also was a digital producer. I ran the gamut. And there was an opportunity to come here. I wanted a little bit more stability and a challenge, and it's definitely been a challenge in a good way, though.
Right.
Because I'm of a certain age where I can't just retire, but I also can't switch jobs all the time. So it was just a perfect opportunity, and I've learned so much. And we're going to talk about why we started the podcast.
Yeah. I did want to mention though how it was great when you came on board. You came with a wealth of knowledge, because you worked in the community already.
Yeah.
So it wasn't where you started from the ground up. You knew a lot already what's going on. So it was really nice to get somebody that's, was able to just jump and go.
I kind of had that institutional knowledge.
Yeah,
that probably helped. So
yeah.
No knowledge of sitting behind a microphone and doing a podcast because I was always behind the camera, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. All right. So, Maureen, we have this podcast that's been going on for about a year now. We also have social media, our website, different platforms we give information. Why should people listen to the podcast if they're already following us on social media? Isn't it the same stuff, basically?
In a way, it is, yes. The topics are the same. But we all know social media, you really can't digest a lot of information from there.
Sure.
In a post from a city government, say. So the podcast enables us to maybe find topics from social media that people are talking about, hot topics, if you want to say, and sit down in a nice atmosphere like this and actually get an expert on a topic and have a more in-depth conversation. So yes, we will also we'll share information on social media through e-blasts. We send texts. No, you can't send a lot of information through text.
Right.
But the podcast is just a way to sit down, listen for 20, 40, sometimes an hour. Last podcast was about an hour long, but it was a lot of information. So it's just a way to have an organic conversation, like we're having right now, a back and forth about important topics that we think our residents should hear about, or topics that they're very interested in getting a little bit more in-depth information rather than just like some surface presentation, if you will.
Right. I always when people ask me about it, I always say this is more of a conversation versus a presentation. It's nice to hear two people from different departments kind of have a conversation about a project or a topic that our residents are mentioning on social media and have more questions than just a social media post. It's nice to be able to bring it back over here and actually dig deeper a little bit and find more details that are beneficial. Great. So how are the topics? Well, we kind of touched it a little bit in the previous answer. The topics that come in on the podcast, how do you choose them? What makes it a podcast topic versus just it's just a social media post versus a podcast? It's not podcast worthy, so to speak.
Podcast worthy. So it's pretty simple. At first, you and I were talking about how you kind of have to have like a bank of topics.
Right.
Sometimes we have a big bank of topics, and others we're kind of trying to figure out like week by week what to do. So at first, we were trying to take hot topics that we were seeing on social media. What are people talking about on our social media, on other like Port St. Lucie-centric Facebook pages,
Right.
Facebook groups? And that's kind of how we started. We also have a form that we ask people to fill out too. What do you want us to talk about in depth? What do you want to learn more about? So folks can fill that out.
Where can they find that form, by the way?
It's just at cityofpsl.com/podcast.
Okay.
There's a form there. And I believe it's just a jot form. They just click on, submit a topic, and that's it. And then you submit a topic, and we get them through our email.
Just a quick note, we always are looking for new topics.
Yes.
So our listeners, if you have topics that you want to know more about, definitely send in that form so Moren can take a look at it and actually bring the right person on the podcast and have a good conversation.
And it can be about anything. Again, it has to sort of be podcast worthy, where we can have at least a 10 to 15 minute conversation about it. If it's something that I can answer through an email, I will do that for the person who sent it. But I'm sure we can find a lot of stuff to talk about
we
with
do a lot of things
one
in the
topic.
City,
So that's kind of how it started. We got several. I think we got like 15 ideas, and we used a good deal of them.
Yeah.
But our very first podcast was with Mayor Martin, who also comes on once a month whenever she really wants to talk about something. And the first one was about trash, because talk about hot topics. That was a very hot topic for a very long time. Luckily, it has gotten immensely better. But that was our first topic, was trash. The second topic, we did something on hurricane season. But that's sort of evergreen information. So we probably won't hit on that again. But if we feel like we have to, replay a podcast, I could always link to it on social media. We can send an email out. And then we would just think of, topics that, if there was a meeting, for instance, like City Center. We had a really great conversation with Jen Davis last summer, I believe, about City Center. I think the master plan was approved, something, and we said, hey, this would be great to talk about. And boy, did we. It was
Now the City Center has a new name.
It does.
What's the
Shall
name?
Are we allowed to disclose that now?
It was a public meeting.
I believe it's Walton and One.
That's right, yep.
So I guess, yes, Walton and One. But back then it was City Center.
Yep.
Breaking news, Walton and One, if you didn't watch the public meeting.
Yep.
So it kind of starts with things like that too. Let's see, what are the other topics? So a lot of people, I'm going to discuss one of my most interesting podcast topics. So we have a podcast called Why.
Before you go that,
okay,
actually, before you go to the next topic.
Okay.
The second piece of this question is, how do you find topics, right? But then, how do you prioritize?
Oh, resident centric. It's whatever our residents, folks in the community don't have to be residents. They can be visitors.
Right.
We try to prioritize those first because those are the quote unquote hot topics that you want us to answer questions about. So that's definitely the priority. Then we can branch off into what I was talking about. Sometimes we just want to educate and inform. That's what we're here for. That's what communications does.
Right.
We let people know what's going on in the city. We have so many things happening here. Let's see. One of the topics, for instance, 1PSL. Everybody knows about 1PSL, or everybody should know about 1PSL. Yeah. Maybe someone doesn't know about 1PSL. So we had Jasmine Padova in here, and it was great. She was a little hesitant to come in, but she did wonderfully. It was awesome.
She did awesome.
We talked about things like maybe people don't know what they can submit to 1PSL. A lot of people didn't know they could, hey, there's a pothole on my street. Take a photo, send it in. The GPS will track it to where your location is. So stuff like that too. Sometimes I'll just go through the website. Hey, I think this would be a great podcast. Maybe, and we'll get a subject matter expert in to talk about said topic.
Yeah.
So that's really how we prioritize it. But it's definitely your questions and your ideas always come first because that's what it's about.
Right. I think we put citizen concerns, as first priority on what should go on the podcast. And then if we kind of hit most of those, we can start going to the education side of things and just tell people what we're doing and new things that are coming up and stuff like that. So. And
a good example of that is the port.
Yeah.
The port just opened. We had Port Fest. We didn't really want to focus.
Which was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and hot.
Yes, very hot. We didn't really want to focus on Port Fest. Hey, Port Fest is coming up. The bigger picture, the bigger story was about the Port District.
Sure.
Why we started it, why we thought that was like the jewel of the St. Lucie River, and talk about what we'll have there. Trails. There'll be trails eventually. It'll be connected to Wilderness Track down the line. There's going to be a restaurant there. That was the story.
It's definitely expanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then Port Fest, of course, we talked about Port Fest because it was Port Fest.
Right.
It was the grand opening, the introduction to
right.
it. So.
Is Port Fest an annual event?
I believe it's going to be an annual event.
Okay.
I don't want to say it will be around the same time every year.
Okay. But it's something that's going to come every year.
I believe it's going to be an annual event.
Well, if you missed the last one, the grand opening, you should definitely show up for the next one. It's an awesome event.
Yeah.
A lot of things happening.
It was really great. The band was awesome. We had the Whalers.
Yep.
We had another local band too that played like a lot of covers, 80s music.
There's some food trucks.
It was great.
We put a photo booth together.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was good.
Yep.
Did we cover all the topics? Because we have the next one I have on my list is give us the 3 most interesting topics you have covered on the podcast.
My opinion too. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
So
in no specific order.
Well, I did put them in a specific order.
There you go.
But it's okay. We'll get through the analytics later. So we were talking in communications about Cheesecake Factory. It's a big topic. A lot of our residents on social, why can't we have this? Why can't we have a Trader Joe's? Why don't we have a Cheesecake Factory? Bingo, that's the title of a podcast. So we had Mayor Moren come in and basically talk about how and why restaurants would decide
at that size.
That
scale, yeah.
That scale to set up shop in Port St. Lucie.
Sure.
Do we seek out those businesses? Not really. A lot of it depends on population, like household income and things like that.
Sure.
And of course we have like Amazon and we have Southern Grove is just flourishing right now. But people were most, interested in Trader Joe's, Cheesecake Factory. We got a fresh market. That post went crazy on social media and it was just a ribbon cutting picture.
Yeah.
And I learned a ton because I didn't know that about all of those, like the demographics of why a business would come here. So I love that episode. And it's actually, spoiler alert, it was our most listened to podcast. So let's see the other one. City Center, we already talked about that. Jen Davis, the CRA director, came in, told us about the storied history of City Center / Walton and One.
Yep.
And just talked in depth really about its history and how only a few years ago the city again took control over it, which is great because now there's going to be some fantastic things coming. And I have a tie. I had to add in, of course, the K-9 unit we had in here.
I thought that was coming.
Yeah. We had Officer Harris and Sergeant Fazio and K-9 Bodie here.
Yep.
And it's been my goal for like practically the entire year to have the K-9 unit in. And I wrote a story about the K-9 unit. We have an awesome video. Again, just trying to get all of this awesome information out on different platforms. So it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
But then I loved Brad. Brad Keene was in here,
Oh, yeah.
our acting Parks and Rec director.
Yep.
He came in and
He gave you a history lesson.
he gave me a history lesson, and he's the one to do it.
For sure.
He knows everything about anything that has to do with parks.
Yep.
And it's also July. It's Parks and Recreation Month. So we wanted to make sure that we included that somehow. So he talked about parks, what's coming with parks, why we choose, why and when we have to figure out where a park is going to go. And then again, we're going to be writing a story about the fitness side. So we had the park side, and for the podcast, a story about fitness. So we're just trying to get as much information out there as we can on different platforms. So those were my 3/4.
Yeah, and
of my most
the
interesting.
nicest thing, I think, by having you as the social media manager and the host of this podcast is that the information you gather through creating the podcast, through these conversations, is you can take that info and better answer questions and comments on social media. It's like a cycle.
That's right.
We get the questions from social media, we make a podcast, and then we just go back to social media and we're able to provide better, more accurate answers, straight to the point.
Yep.
So it's awesome.
I frequently, if someone has a question about City Center, usually I would send them to cityofpsl.com/citycenter, which I would probably still do, but we also have a podcast about it. And we audio record this and video record it, so folks can listen to it on any type of device they want.
Yeah.
I will usually send them the YouTube link of the City Center podcast.
It's a good point. I wanted to mention. Creating this podcast, one of the main reasons behind it, because we do a ton of things in communications.
Mm-hmm.
We do social media posts, we do different reels, we do videos, we do digital signage now. We have on the road.
E-blasts.
Flyers, exactly. Yep. Text, different things. We have many ways. Mm-hmm. What's nice about podcasts, why podcast is a little different, is because, first of all, it's on places like Spotify. And what's the other one?
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
What's nice is you can hit play and still do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. You can drive to work or drive somewhere or take a walk or go for a run or whatever it is you need to do.
Cooking dinner, making breakfast.
And still listen and get that benefit, that information from the podcast. So you can't do that with anything else.
No.
You can do it with a text. You can do it with videos. You can't read the website while driving. You should not.
No, we advise do not do that.
So that's one of the main push for a podcast. And then we thought, you know what? We already have the equipment for the video. Why not have a byproduct? Why not take that same podcast, video recorded, and put that on YouTube? So now we have two products. Because some people they like to watch the conversation as it happens versus just listening to it. So, I think it's becoming a good centralized area for just information and good quality information. So
and more podcasts now, at least that I could see, are actually using video.
Right.
Too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
But they probably don't have a nice studio like this, though.
They don't.
And they also
handmade studio.
Handmade studio, and they also can't see my my jeans jacket, which
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I get made fun of constantly. But
famous.
But hey,
famous.
my famous jeans jacket. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So let's quickly talk about the process of creating an episode. How does it start? Well, we kind of talked about how does it start,
Yeah.
but how does it get to the online platforms like YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music?
Okay. We try to make the process as simple as we can. It starts off with brainstorming topics, which we already discussed. I'm a content person. I'm in control of all the content for the podcast.
Sure.
So we think of a topic. Oh, hey, Kelly Boatwright. She would be the perfect person to talk about this so-and-so project. I would email Kelly, try to set up a time for her to come in and record the podcast. And then about a couple days before, I'll send some talking points, nothing major, just something, things that I want her to touch on. We record, and we try to do no editing at all. To make it easier on Gus so we can get these things out, but also it's the organic conversation. And you repeatedly tell people, if you misspeak, if you misspoke,
Yeah.
if you said a statistic that was wrong and you catch yourself, hey, oh, wait, guys, that's wrong. It was X amount.
Right.
That's what it's about. It's
Yeah.
about being like more personal
Organic,
and kind of like a laid back atmosphere.
Right.
So we record. Avi will run around and take photos. We
Yeah.
take selfies of all of our guests and usually use those for publicizing it. Gus will go back to his little area. He will send me the audio file, which I will upload to Buzzsprout, which is our program that hosts our podcast.
Yeah, correct.
And then he'll also upload it to YouTube. I will go in and I write all the headlines, titles, descriptions. I add all the links and basically just schedule them for every other Friday. That's when we have a podcast drop. And then once they're live, I schedule posts on social media. We have an email that we send out. It's called Press Play that has all of our past videos. The podcasts always go on there. The podcasts are also showcased in our On the Pulse city manager's report that comes out every month. So that's the process. It's very simple. Like I said, we tried to not do a lot of editing because we want the organic back and forth.
Right.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And it's an easy process. It's the files aren't huge. They're pretty quick to upload.
Yeah, I think our goal originally about the process, for those who don't know too much about editing or video editing or sound editing, when it comes to video editing or even sound editing, if you don't plan ahead, there's a lot of editing. And as we know, as we're a growing city, we're all busy. And this is an additional project that we
Right.
have to do on a bi-weekly basis.
Yeah, because we're not all just
this
the
isn't it.
podcast. Like
Yeah.
I'm just not a podcast host.
And
I
we
do-
don't spend,
Right.
we don't spend 20, 30 hours a week working on the podcast.
No.
We spend much less. So we want to have, after the conversation happens, we want the least amount of time to be spent on editing and producing it. So ease up time of Gus and everybody else. So it seems to be going really smooth
Yep.
so far.
Yeah,
So,
you were uploading them to Buzzsprout
Yeah,
for a while. I
yeah.
just kind of took it over
Yeah.
because it made more sense. So
because you're writing all the descriptions,
Exactly.
the titles, all that stuff.
it's
so.
very simple.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. So it's been a year.
Yeah, I know.
This is what, the 28th, right?
Yes, you're correct. The 28th episode. And there were a few Fridays that had 3 Fridays.
True.
So
yeah. And we try to push
more.
them every 2 weeks. Try to push an episode.
And that was important to us too. Is if I'm on vacation, or you're on vacation,
Right.
or Gus is on vacation, we always have backups.
Yep.
But if I'm going on vacation, nobody else wants to be the host.
I'm
although
not gonna be the host.
you're doing very well.
Yeah, I
so.
appreciate it. Thank you.
But we always try to do things like around the holidays. I think
Yeah.
we did like 5 podcasts in 2 weeks.
Well, we are swamped during the holidays.
Yeah.
So we have
And there's vacations.
events and vacations.
Yep.
And yeah, for sure. All right. So how is the podcast doing? Are people actually listening to this thing?
People are listening.
Wow. Okay.
Well, first I want to say,
Yeah.
we're now an award-winning
Let me have
podcast.
that. Let me have that.
Okay. So we were awarded Outstanding Podcast of the Year by the Florida Municipal Communicators
That's awesome.
Association. Hopefully there were more than 3 entries. Let's go. But we, what I was talking about the background earlier, the person who was in charge that day, I believe I want to say he was from the west side of I don't want to mess it up, but he was from the west side of the state. And the video was playing of our podcast, and I got the award, and he's like, wow, look at that background. It's really nice. I'm like, yeah, we built it ourselves. And he was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of awards.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just our job. It's just what we do.
But we do it well.
But we do it well.
Yeah.
And it was nice, especially since it's our first year, to get
to be recognized.
the most outstanding podcast.
That's awesome.
It was nice.
Yeah. All right. You have numbers for us, right?
I do. So people are listening. We don't really have anything to base this on since this is our first year.
Sure.
So far we've had 1,674 listens according to Buzzsprout.
Okay.
As far as most listens, again, the Cheesecake Factory podcast has 114. The city center. Oh no, wait! I take this back. We did a podcast with Mayor Martin about can the city control growth and development. That was a big topic. It's still a big topic.
It's always going to be a big topic.
It's always going to be a big topic. That was second place. It had 89 listens, and then the first podcast, 84 listens, and that was a year ago. And we did another podcast with Mayor Martin that was dedicated to answering FAQs. That had 82 listens.
That was good.
And we really want to have her back. She does really well on those podcasts. She loves giving information to our residents, and especially when they have tons of questions.
Yeah.
That's kind of her specialty. So we're going to have her on and do that.
And that's good. We're collecting questions as we go.
Exactly.
And then having a podcast with all those questions. I think it's really good, yeah.
Yeah. And that would be like periodically, maybe like 2 or 3 times a year, in addition to
everything else.
Yeah. So the majority of our listeners are on Apple Podcasts, which I find a little weird since I'm a Spotify girl.
Yeah, same here.
19% listen on Spotify, and 10% listen via their web browser.
Okay.
I'm not sure who would.
That's a good point actually for our listeners. You know, if you don't have, even if you don't have a smartphone, you can just jump on the website, cdpsl.com/PSL On The Mic, and you can
/podcast.
Sorry, podcast.
Ugh.
Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Your hosting duties are over.
Gotcha. You're gonna have to edit that out. Right, and then you can listen right on the browser. So we're giving them a lot of ways to listen. We're not limiting them on what they have to listen. So that's great. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. But we're also on YouTube, and it seems that a lot of people are watching us there. So we have, between all 27 podcasts, 6,712 views.
Wow.
Yeah. Guess which one was first? Cheesecake Factory. That had 690 views. Yeah. The Port District, which was only a few weeks ago with Jen Davis and Kelly Boatwright, has 425 views. And the Data podcast that we did with Kate Parmalee about how she talked about how the city uses data to better serve our residents, that has 405 views, which I was a little surprised about because you see data, you're like, oh, that sounds really boring. But I'm glad people...
You're thinking IT, yeah.
Ooh, I didn't say that.
That's not what I meant.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Data, IT. Yeah. So that did really well. I'm glad people were listening to it.
Right.
And this is just kind of fun. So we have 121 listens from Europe, 44 listens from Asia, 3 listens from Africa, and 6 listens from South America. So are we global? I guess we're worldwide now.
Yeah. The nice thing about this is that, this isn't a podcast about growing a business or, it's about government topics.
Which, sounds really boring.
It's not the most exciting, but it's super informational. Mm-hmm. And I think people are realizing it, and I bet you the numbers will continue to grow and go up year to year. Yeah, but these are really good numbers for a first-year podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, they'll get better and better. And what you were saying, like government podcast, oh gosh, that sounds boring. But our topics that we choose really help to bolster the viewership and
that's what's important. We're basing our topics, and we said before, on the residents. What are residents wanting to know?
Yep.
We're not basing it on. We're not in the business of. Even though it sounds like we're not in the business of we have to get as many subscribers as possible or views. It's not about viewership or subscribers. It's about getting the information to our residents.
Educating and informing.
Exactly. That's it. That's all we're trying to do.
And if people listen, they listen.
Yeah.
If they don't, hopefully they will.
Then we send them a link to go listen.
Exactly.
All right, great. What's next for PSL On The Mic? What do you see coming up for PSL On The Mic the next year or two?
Well, let's talk about the important things first.
Yeah.
I am very excited to bring in some of our community partners. We've done that a few times. Mayor Martin brought in someone from the St. Lucie County Fire District. We had FDOT here. We had a couple of representatives from Florida Department of Transportation to talk about projects that the city partners with them on. Maybe the difference between an FDOT project versus a city project.
Yeah.
That's a big talker.
A lot of people don't know the difference.
No, they don't. And that's why we also did the growth and development podcast. But I really want to, I've wanted to get Will Armstead in here for a while.
Yeah.
He is the director of the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County, and I believe he'll probably come on with Mayor Martin. But I want to talk about those partnerships and how they better the community, our residents, and just how we work together to make a better Port St. Lucie. So that's the important part. But I also want some swag.
Yeah.
So we're using our communications mug right now, but we need some shirts and some mugs, and maybe
We gotta look legit.
Yes, we have to look legit. And we want to maybe have a contest.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say a word during the podcast. If you listen and hear it, email us.
Yep.
You'll get a prize.
Yep.
You'll get a little piece of swag. But I'm also going to, I already spoke with our community engagement manager, Stephanie Verneau.
Yeah.
She's at tons of events. I want to go there with her because we've been pushing the podcast, but we haven't really talked about it out at events like this. So I'll set up the table with her. We'll give some swag out and say, hey, did you know there's a podcast? There's another way to listen to information, watch if you want on YouTube about everything that's happening in Port St. Lucie. So those are my plans.
Yeah.
And I think you have a few too.
I do. So, this background that we have next to us here, it served us really well, and we're not getting rid of it. But the way we built it intentionally to have two different backgrounds on both sides. Because you guys can't see the studio we're in, but it's not big. And these are huge 8 by 8 feet pieces of walls that we have. So what I do definitely want to do is build the other side of it. Different texture, different background. Because we're not the only ones who use this.
Right.
The video guys use this as well. And as good as it looks, and it looks really well, it's going to get to a point where it's going to be like, oh, it's that same background again.
Yeah.
So I think just having a variety of options to choose from. Maybe some more decorations. I don't know.
Yeah, we put some pumpkins out for the
there you go.
fall
Yeah,
and maybe decorate for the holidays in other ways. Maybe we'll keep this here, but you really can't see it.
Yeah,
So.
we're going to put something dark behind it.
Yeah, so that's really, and I want to get a rug.
Even
though you really can't see the ground.
We got to redo a little bit, a
Yeah.
couple stuff here. And this table is great, but when you have 2 or 3, or 2, I should say, is probably the max, 2 guests, it's getting a little tight because of these microphones and everything. So I think getting a slightly bigger desk will give you the opportunity to have even more than 2 or even 3 people and have a real, in-depth conversations versus just the one-on-one, even though this is great, the one-on-ones. Another thing I wanted to see, and this is maybe a little bit out there, is to maybe go on location, take the podcast on location. I think it would be neat.
Yeah,
a
few times, maybe a few times
Yeah,
a
not
year.
all the time, but if we're highlighting a specific project, maybe we can go to that project area, the location, and have the podcast from there. Because it's not live, so we're going to record it and then push it out at the date. So
Let's do that when it's a little cooler.
yeah, not during the summer.
No.
All right, I think that's all the questions I have.
Yeah, we covered a lot too.
We did cover a lot, and honestly, it's been. I did miss a few podcasts because I had other meetings. We're full of meetings over here. But I'm really happy how the direction it's taking. You know, I feel like it's very beneficial. Not just the residents, but even to us.
Yes.
I mean, we're in communications, and yeah, we do hear a lot of what's going on, but having that person here talking,
The subject matter expert.
yeah, having them talk to you and actually go and spend 30, 40 minutes on one topic, it's very hard to get that. Like, you don't get that from a website, or you don't get that from, even though we try our best.
A social media post.
Right, we try our best to put everything on the website and everything on social media, but there's a limit how many people are going to pay attention, or how many people are going to read. You know, we have documents and pages upon pages. So this is really summarizing the info and kind of like delivering it in a good, concise method. So
Yep. It's like just a more intimate, laid back
yeah,
conversation.
right.
That I'm more comfortable with now. When I
Yeah.
first started, go back and watch,
go watch the first
those
episode,
videos.
second episode.
Oof.
Yeah.
But the more and more that
Yeah.
I do it, the more I enjoy it. And
Are you becoming a community celebrity? Are people noticing you at Publix or Walmart and be like, I know her?
well, someone actually did recognize me at Port Fest.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, of course, I signed. No, I didn't sign an
Did you
autograph.
sign the shirt?
Yeah. When we get shirts, I'll sign your shirt.
I'm gonna get you 8x10s as you walk around. You can just sign.
Great.
Like.
Awesome. So if you guys have been listening, hopefully you have for a while, we
Yeah.
started a little fun thing at the end of our podcasts, and it's 10 questions. So we're going to actually have 3 people participating since it's the Maureen, Avi, Gus show. And I'm going to ask Gus questions.
Yeah.
No, you're going to ask me a question. I'm going to ask Gus a question, and Gus is going to ask you a question.
What?
And hopefully,
He doesn't. Oh, he does have a microphone. All right, I guess
Hopefully-
we're gonna let him
oh,
talk.
I didn't even think
we're
about
gonna let him talk.
hopefully he'll switch the cameras quick enough.
He's back there with all the switching.
Yeah.
So he's making it happen.
We'll give him some time.
Yeah.
So shoot, you ask
All
me,
right.
and we'll go around.
Maureen, so this is gonna be kind of quick. So what's your favorite food?
I like Mexican or Thai.
Oh, okay.
Gus, what about you? What's your favorite food?
I'll go for a hot dog. Hot dog is my favorite food.
Of course.
I would say.
Gus, well, okay, Avi, you go. What's
All
your
right.
favorite food?
I would say for me it is Thai food, or besides Israeli food, Thai food and Indian food. I do
Okay.
like a lot of spicy foods.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Second question: your favorite movie?
It's Halloween.
All right.
I love
all right.
horror movies.
Okay. All right.
Gus, what's your favorite movie?
Twister.
Ooh.
Okay. I like True Lies.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's a good movie. All right. Maureen, your favorite hobby? Do you have hobbies?
You probably already know this. I am a CrossFitter, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I will not recruit you. I'm not an annoying CrossFitter. I love working out, CrossFit, but I also like traveling too.
Awesome.
Gus, favorite hobby?
I don't have one.
All right.
So boring. Okay. Avi, what's your favorite hobby?
Oh man, I have a few. Kayaking. I like to be outdoors in the sun. I have a motorcycle, so going on a couple hour rides. I used to be a lot into woodworking, a very DIY kind of guy. I would say for now though, kayaking is like my number one hobby.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in Florida. That's good.
We are in Florida, yeah. All right, your favorite singer/band?
So no one's probably going to know any of our choices.
I never do.
So my
Our choices, yeah.
yeah, my favorite singer is, maybe they'll look it up,
Yeah.
Ani DeFranco.
Okay.
She's kind of a girl rocker, singer, songwriter. And I love Brandi Carlile as well. People will probably know Brandi Carlile.
I don't know any of those.
Okay, I figured you didn't.
Yeah.
Gus, favorite singer or band?
Supertramp.
Taking it back to the 70s.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Super.
Supertramp.
Okay.
Okay.
Did
What
not
about
hear-
you, Avi?
Not hear about that at all. For people who don't know, I'm from Israel. So we listen to a lot of EDM in Israel.
Which
so,
is electronic
like
dance music.
Yeah, even though I don't dance, I do listen to dance music. So EDM, but if I have to pick an actual band, I would say it's between Queen and ABBA. Those I know, very, very off. Yeah.
Okay. I love Queen.
yeah.
ABBA, I'm not sure.
What? Okay. Favorite book?
My favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
Gus?
I don't know if I have one.
That's okay. Well, you could pass.
I'm into a lot of like magazines and stuff, but not a book per se.
Okay.
Okay.
What about you, Avi?
By the way, that's why we keep Gus behind the camera. I don't have a specific book. I will tell you that my genre of books or things to read are business related or maybe like self-improvement or like human behavior. I'm really into human behavior. Yeah. All right. Favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Favorite holiday, Gus?
Halloween for me as well.
Wow.
What about you?
I did not see that coming.
I didn't either.
Yeah. I will say for me it would be probably Hanukkah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
would say Thanksgiving too, maybe.
For me?
Okay.
Because I like to eat?
Maybe.
All right. I mean, I do like to eat.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are we? Favorite places, a place to visit?
So I love the mountains and the changing
Okay.
of the seasons. So anywhere where that occurs, which is not Florida. But the favorite place that I've ever visited in my life is London, England.
Okay, very cool.
Gus, favorite place to visit?
I'll go for Spain.
Beautiful.
You've
Beautiful
been to
place.
Spain?
Never been to Spain.
But he would like to go.
Okay, very interesting.
What about you, Ollie?
So locally, it's the beach. Can't get better than the beach, honestly. But I recently came back from a trip to Europe. From Europe, I visited Italy, Israel, and France. And I would say that Italy and Israel are like my favorite. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
They were great places. Okay, favorite ice cream flavor.
I'm going to take it old school mint chocolate chip.
Okay.
Gus, favorite ice cream flavor?
Rum raisin.
Okay.
Interesting. How about you?
Mine is toasted coconut.
Okay.
Yeah, I do love coconuts.
All right.
All right, next we have favorite TV show.
I'm kind of a TV nerd.
Yeah.
I love streaming, but The Sopranos is my all-time favorite TV show. But I also love Breaking Bad, and I also love King of Queens. So,
Okay.
and I love several more, but those are my three my go-tos.
Very cool.
How about you, Gus?
I like watching Cops.
Like
Old-fashioned Cops.
Okay.
Yep.
What about you, Avi?
I don't do a whole lot of TV shows. So I'm going to pass, actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
We're up to our last question.
I'm going to add one on top of that.
Okay.
So, favorite color?
I actually have three. I like blue, pink, and yellow.
Blue, pink, and yellow. Okay.
Gus, favorite color?
Blue.
Okay.
Avi, favorite color?
I'll have to go with blue as well.
Oh, we all
Yeah,
love blue.
Yeah. I will add another. I have two questions to add.
Okay.
Just because I'm like that. So, question number one: what's your favorite cereal? Or breakfast, I should say, if you don't eat cereal.
Yeah, I do not eat cereal,
Yeah.
so I'm like an egg girl. Any kind
Okay.
of eggs. Gus?
Fruit Loops.
I knew that was a cereal.
He took the direct route. Okay. What about you?
I do like eggs as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe some waffles. I do make some good waffles.
You do make good waffles.
Yeah.
All right, what's your last question? People are probably like, when is this going to be over?
Yeah. I think I forgot my last question.
Okay, on that note,
Maureen, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, this is.
I love that the roles were reversed.
Yeah. This was. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was your idea, and it was a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of ideas. Some of them are not great. Some of them are.
This one
okay.
was good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We covered a lot. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. We enjoy bringing it to you. And again, find it at cityofpsl.com/podcast.
Not PSL on the
Not
mic.
PSL on the mic /podcast.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube, on the city's YouTube channel. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. But that /podcast will take you to all those places. And send us ideas. We are
Definitely.
always ready for any ideas that our residents want to share with us because, like we said, you're our top priority. We want to make sure that we answer the important questions that you have. for us.
Yeah, and I definitely want to thank all the listeners
Yes.
and people who watch us on YouTube. This is for you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this is not really for us. This is literally a product we made for you guys to enjoy and get more knowledge.
Another
about
just
different
another
things.
platform
Just another platform.
to learn about
Yeah.
the city of Port St. Lucie, heart of the
Yeah.
Treasure Coast.
You want to sign? You should sign off. You should sign off.
I will sign off.
Yeah.
Avi,
Yeah,
Gus, thank you so much for putting this podcast together with me.
of course.
And we'll see you guys in a couple Fridays from now. Thanks so much, Avi, for joining me on the
thank you.
podcast.